The President has directed that these children, these minors, be released immediately.
President Bola Tinubu orders immediate release of minors facing trial in connection with recent protests in some northern states. Be resolute and bring your best foot forward, President Tinubu tells new members of Federal Executive Council.
You are called upon to join the chief to rescue this country.
Court orders unfreezing of bank accounts of former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Onoge.
Let it be known by the whole world that judiciary in Nigeria is one of the best in the world.
Good evening and welcome to the Network News. I am Olajide Bello. Joining me from Lagos is Michael Olale. Musa Abubakar is on the business news segment. Musa, who is gaining in the market?
Well, equities market and Monday's trading session in red.
All right, many thanks, Musa. And Ayo Deji, market is a sports anchor for tonight. Ayo, what's trending in the world of sports?
Well, it promises to be another big midweek of actions in the UEFA Europa Champions and, of course, the Conference League, as more Nigerians will be involved ahead of the international break in November.
All right, many thanks, Ayo. Remember, you can watch this broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen. President Bola Tinubu has directed the Attorney General of the Federation of Ministers of Justice to facilitate the immediate release of minors facing trial in connection to recent protests in some northern states. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, after meeting with the President, announced this to State House correspondents.
The President has directed that these children, these minors, be released immediately. This is, of course, without prejudice to whatever legal processes there are. Of course, if you look at this issue, there is the legal side of it, but there is also the human angle, the humanitarian side of it. Mr. President has directed that whatever the circumstances are, let the minors be released. They can, of course, continue whatever process there are, if indeed there are, as stipulated by our laws. But the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs has been charged, has been directed by the President to ensure that they have safe return and reunion to their family members. And like I said earlier, if there are any infractions being committed by any law enforcement officer or any official of government, a disciplinary action will be taken against such person.
And on bilateral relations, Nigeria and the United Kingdom have agreed to establish strategic partnerships in 6 key areas. This is part of the outcomes as President Bola Tinubu received the UK Secretary of State for Foreign Commonwealth and Development Affairs, David Lammy, in the State House. Meanwhile, by 2050, Africa would have accounted for 25% of the global population, with Nigeria as one of its largest democracies. In the light of this, the United Kingdom is strengthening bilateral ties to enhance UK-Africa relations. UK Secretary of State for Foreign Commonwealth and Development Affairs, David Lammy, made the assertion during the signing of Memorandum of Understanding with Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga. Garba Nata'ala reports.
Nigeria and the United Kingdom have long-standing history, which deems it fit to enhance and reshape their bilateral ties, prompting the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding witnessed by management officials and journalists covering activities of the ministry. Earlier, the United Kingdom Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, David Lammy, advocated for deeper ties in trade and economic partnerships. Being his first official visit to Africa, the Secretary of State described his visit as renewed commitment for a stronger strategy to elevate UK's engagement in Africa, while Yusuf Tuga acknowledged the partnership aimed to boost economic opportunities of both countries. Meanwhile, the management officials of the ministry warmly received the newly sworn Minister of State, Bianca Ojukwu, as she resumes office. In Abuja, Garba Muhammad Natala, NTA News.
And away from bilateral ties, a multi-trillion naira Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan has been presented to the Lake Chad Basin Commission to tackle the complex issues affecting the region. Elizabeth Omarovi reports that the comprehensive plan handed over by Mohammed Goni Al-Kali, Chief Executive Officer of the Northeast Development Commission, aims to drive long-term economic growth of the region.
Lake Chad region over the years has been grappling with numerous challenges from insecurity to climate change and economic development. Addressing these developmental issues informed this follow-up meeting to amplify the input of the master plan for implementation. The 10-year plan has 11 pillars covering agriculture, peace building, education, industrialization and more.
There are going to be an operational team that will sit down and look at it critically, the master plan, and come up with an area where the two commissions can collaborate and also bring out those areas that can be done immediately in the short term, long term.
The document, drawn in 2022, has more than 500 programs and projects with 4 phases, which include recovery and stabilization, renewal, expansion and sustainable growth.
The only limitation factor that we have, as usual, is funding. Otherwise, the plan is an excellent plan. It is an adaptive plan.
If effectively implemented, it will accelerate regional growth, improve livelihoods, and strengthen regional security. Other issues raised at the meeting include shrinking water levels at the Lake Chad, rain patterns, and displacement, as well as implementation of the roadmap, which will form part of discourse at the 3rd International Forum on the Development of the Lake Chad region. From N'Djamena, Chad, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
And to the National Assembly, the Senate Committee on Solid Minerals says it will continue to engage key players in the mining sector to unravel cause of minefield collapse in Shiroro local government area of Niger State. Chairman of the committee, Ekang Samson, said this at the Government House in Nigerian, an assessment visit to the state. National Assembly correspondent Issa Mohammed reports.
The recent minefield collapse in Shiroro, during which workers lost their lives, was brought to the attention of the Senate through a motion from Senator Sani Musa, leading to a resolution to investigate the incidents. The committee expressed sympathy over the tragedy with an assurance to uncover the line of fault for appropriate action.
What happened was breathtaking. A number of lives were lost and some issues were raised about mining safety in Nigeria. And as a Senate, we became even more determined to put in measure such safeguards that will prevent a reoccurrence.
Any mining exploration that will take place without adequate safety and health and hazardous standards in order to curb such incidents, any leader would be very, very interested to seeing that he hold that area carefully.
Niger State Governor Muhammad Umaru Bago says his administration insists on responsible mining practice for sustainable operations and well-being of the citizenry.
Artisanal mining has cost us a lot of lives. It has encouraged a lot of banditry and insecurity. Companies, for instance, who would be given permission to do mining in communities will have to understand that there are post-mining effects. These are some of the initiatives in the new law we are about to pass.
The committee reassured that its report will capture all concerns to ensure that mining activities in Nigeria are standardized and in the interest of host communities and the government. From Mina, Niger State, Issa Muhammad, NTA News.
The House of Representatives is to engage the new Minister of Education, Finance and Budget Office next week to resolve challenges in recruitment process and exemption of universities from IPPI's platform. Chairman House Committee on University Education, Abubakar Hassan Fulata, said this during a rescheduled oversight to Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Rabi Ali reports.
The interface is called off, and the management of ABU are hereby summoned to appear before the committee at a date to be announced later.
The rescheduled visit to Ahmadu Bello University Zaria was as a result of the absence of Vice Chancellor and other top management when the committee visited the university in September this year. Some anomalies in internally generated revenue and budget utilization were identified by the committee.
Our interest is the expenditure itself. Now, in most of the cases, the amount generated are not expended, leaving huge balances which are not carried over.
When we are making our submissions to the Accountant General office, we have to follow the format. That's the National Chart of Accounts. That's why we are reporting it like this. But we will report to this department in the Accountant General office so that this observation will be noted.
They call it new IPs. New IPs, not giftings, not yet on giftings. Thank you very much. So as at now, it's not possible to recruit. There are restrictions.
The same scenario played out at the federal universities in Dusemba and Azare. The committee asked the management of Federal University of Health Sciences Azare to follow due process in recruitment and revenue spendings. For now, the committee has concluded this phase of oversight at all the federal universities, and it is expected to lay its report at plenary. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And to girl-child education, stakeholders from the education sector across 18 states have gathered in Abuja to develop strategies of making education more appealing and accessible for adolescent girls, their families, communities, and educational institutions. This initiative is part of the Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment project, which seeks to expand secondary education opportunities for girls in the participating states by addressing unique socio-cultural and religious challenges, among other barriers. Olayinka Ojo reports.
Adolescent girls in Nigeria face numerous challenges that often exclude them from education or prevent them from completing their secondary schooling. These obstacles include gender-based violence, early marriage, and the cost of schooling.
People believe that by the time you come and try to motivate a girl child to go to school, it's like you are trying to bring something new to the culture.
To address these challenges, key players in the education sector are working on strategies to develop long-term solutions.
Ensure that we reduce the number of out-of-school girls on the street, to ensure that these girls are brought back to school.
In assessing the project's impact over the years, the Agile initiative has targeted adolescent girls from 10 years to 20. Through the project, the construction of classrooms with smart infrastructure has been prioritized, alongside the rehabilitation of existing facilities in primary and secondary schools.
We have been able to initiate transformative efforts that empower adolescent girls with the skills, knowledge, and confidence.
It's an economic necessity. It's not just the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do.
Additionally, the provision of teaching and learning materials aims to make schools functional, safe, and inclusive. Empowering girls with essential life skills, knowledge for navigating adulthood, and digital literacy are core components of the initiative. To promote sustainability, financial incentives are being offered to most vulnerable households.
It is about community ownership for sustainability and for inclusivity.
We have received our first tranche of payments for the implementation of the project, about 5 million naira from the World Bank.
The Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment Agile project is a World Bank-supported initiative under the Federal Ministry of Education. Its focus is to enhance secondary education opportunities for adolescent girls. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
Still to come in the news, radiation safety tops agenda as Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority engages stakeholders. Details of this and more after the break. Thanks for being there. Now let's join our State House correspondent Musbah Danwahab for details of Nigeria and United Kingdom strategic partnership in 6 key areas.
UK Member of Parliament and Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, David Lammy, is visiting Africa in this capacity for the first time. The largest economy on the continent and most populous black nation globally feeds his first peak. President Bola Tinubu too was elated to receive him. And for this, the president said Nigeria is fully committed to actualizing renewed agreements with the United Kingdom in areas that directly impact on the livelihood of citizens, such as arts, culture, trade and security. He noted that bilateral relations with the United Kingdom remain strategic for the country and the government would support partnership for growth. And so, President Tinubu urged the United Kingdom to strengthen relations with Africa by showing more interest in some of the conflicts affecting countries like Republic of Sudan, particularly the humanitarian issues. And after the meeting behind closed doors, Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Tugga and the guest announced a milestone agreement between the two countries.
I am pleased to announce today the establishment of a strategic partnership between our two countries, which will facilitate greater collaboration through 6 key pillars: growth and jobs, enhanced national security cooperation, ensuring the safety, security and dignity of our citizens, strengthening our international cooperation, a modernized development partnership, and sustained people-to-people links.
And in a volatile world, I believe that we will cement our historic friendship with Nigeria that enables us to pursue shared goals together. Nigeria is the first country I've visited in Africa as Foreign Secretary because of the importance I place on our relationship. This includes, of course, the people-to-people, many people. I've grown up with many Nigerians in the North London constituency of Tottenham that I represent, but the potential also to increase our trade over time and our shared Commonwealth membership and our cooperation on international security issues.
This new decision is in addition to an agreement on trade and investment signed earlier in the year by the two countries. From the State House, Musbah Danwahab, NTA News.
Nigeria had its fair share of economic challenges that ravaged the world post-COVID-19 era. But President Bola Tinubu is assuring Nigerians that economic recovery is now on the horizon for the country. The president said this at the swearing-in ceremony of 7 new ministers in his administration this Monday. State House correspondent Musbah Danwahab reports.
Seven new ministers chosen and deemed fit to reinvigorate the renewed hope administration in some sectors in the quest to further energize the economy of the country. Idi Mukhtar Meha is coming to pioneer the newly established Ministry of Livestock Development. Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, Minister of State Foreign Affairs. Suwaiba Saeed, Minister of State Education. Yusuf Abdullahi Atta, Minister of State Housing and Urban Development. Jumoke Oduwole, Trade and Investments. Nentawe Yilwatda, Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, and Muhammadu Megiri Dingyadi, Labour and Employment. They are coming in as the administration strives to surmount multiple social and economic challenges, and President Bola Tinubu believes in their capabilities to join his team in the turnaround mission.
And you are called upon to join the team to rescue this country. For us, it was a challenge when a nation was servicing its debt with 97% of its revenue. It's nothing but end of the cliff. But today I can report to you that we brought that one down and it's at 65%. We have never defaulted in paying our obligations. We meet all obligations, both foreign and domestic.
But despite the current challenges, the president is certain that the much-awaited better days are much nearer.
Economic recovery is on the horizon. We have taken the bull by the horn. We stopped the scavengers. We are going to stop completely the profiteers and smugglers of our resources across the country. We are not going to run away from our responsibility. We are going to face it, and we've been facing it headlong.
We are very confident that the new persons who have been added to this team will go along with us to ensure that we move in a very meaningful and purposeful manner.
They've been fixed in ministries that actually almost tailored to their experiences both professionally and in life generally.
Properly unbundling that sector to ensure, one, sufficient and adequate food and nutrition for the country, safe operating environment for all the stakeholders in the country, as well as making the sector very, very attractive for foreign direct investment.
We need productive jobs. And what that means is that we don't just want any jobs. We're looking for jobs that deliver value for Nigerians. In the area of services, we're competitive. Nigerian youth are extremely competitive in the tech sector. In outsourcing, you would know Outsource Global and the initiative with the Office of the Vice President. Those are the kinds of interventions that will continue to further to deliver a vibrant economy.
It's a full team again for the administration, and the renewed hope rekindled. The assignment is as huge as the hope of Nigerians. From the State House, Musbah Wahab, NTA News.
And talking agriculture, Minister of Livestock Development Idi Mukhtar says the 417 grazing reserves in the country will be upgraded to boost Nigeria's prospects in the sector. At a news conference, the minister also pledged to collaborate with the private sector to seamlessly address miscellaneous challenges confronting livestock businesses.
This is an epoch-making moment for the country. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, we have had at the federal level a very, very strategic ministry created to look after the livestock sector of the economy. I take a cue from the President's remarks at the recently concluded workshop on subject that this sector has suffered too long a neglect. And because of that neglect, we have not been able to realize the full potentials of the livestock industry, as opposed to much smaller nations that are far less endowed than we are in terms of land size, resources, including the livestock resources, and the market we have. So out of that strategic vision of Mr. President, he has created this ministry, and it has come to be.
And from the Temple of Justice, the Court of Appeal has ordered the unfreezing of the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Samuel Walter Onaga's bank account in Standard Chartered Bank, Wuse, Abuja. This was after the court discharged and acquitted Onoge for charges preferred against him in 2019 for not properly declaring his asset, leading to his removal from office and the freezing of his bank accounts. The consent judgment is the outcome of settlement terms reached by counsel to the federal government and the former CJN.
Let it be known by the whole world that judiciary in Nigeria is one of the best in the world. We have men and women of character learning who have sacrificed their life from their early age to old age to become anything in judiciary. And yet people talk flippantly, they talk recklessly concerning these eminent Nigerians. If we don't respect our judiciary in Nigeria, the whole world will not respect judiciary in Nigeria.
The former Chief Justice of Nigeria had challenged his conviction and removal from office at the Court of Appeal. Borno State government has successfully rolled out the new national minimum wage of 70,000 naira for all civil servants. Chairman of the Minimum Wage Committee, Babagana Alambe Mustafa, shared implementation details during the press conference. Rujana Hassan has details.
Borno State Governor Babagana Umar Zulum had on 4th September inaugurated a 24-member committee to oversee the implementation of minimum wage and consequential salary adjustment. Chairman of the committee, Babagana Mustafa Malumbe, praised the governor's support and political will, noting the increase will cushion the effects of subsidy removal and improve civil servants' living standards.
The committee has looked at all the inflows, revenue, to ensure that this minimum wage is sustainable and implementable throughout.
Borno State Head of Service, Malam Fanami, commended the government's proactive approach and urged workers to reciprocate with increased commitment and dedication. Labor leaders and committee members hailed the move, demonstrating government's recognition of civil servants' invaluable contributions, as this will no doubt boost productivity. In Maiduguri, Rujana Hassan, NTA News.
Yobe State's government is set to strengthen healthcare system to ensure inclusive access to healthcare services in the state to improve the well-being of its citizens. One of these mechanisms is the routine engagement with religious and traditional leaders to ensure that no one is left behind in accessing healthcare services. Yunusa Suleiman reports.
The construction, rehabilitation and upgrading of 140 primary healthcare centers in its determination towards providing one functional primary healthcare center in each of the 178 wards of the state, many say clearly demonstrate Yobe's commitment to achieving universal health coverage and other health-related sustainable development goals. The engagement with religious and traditional leaders as well as other critical stakeholders is a strategic approach to leverage their influence and promote access to healthcare services, particularly in rural communities.
A healthy population is therefore an essential asset for speedy socio-economic development of any society. In this regard, we have maintained our focus on making quality healthcare services accessible to people in all parts of the state.
The conduct of this meeting is one of the key indicators of PSC Leadership Challenge Fund that obtained its roots from the Seattle Agreement in November 2019, where Their Excellencies Governors of the 36 states and the Minister of the FCT committed to a PSC system strengthening in their respective states.
The state government also assures all development partners of its commitment to paying counterpart funding obligations of all healthcare programs for the attainment of collective goals in the state. In the Matru, Yunusa Suleiman, NTA News.
Now let's head to the Center of Excellence, where Michael Olale is standing by with more reports from that zone. Good evening, Michael.
Good to see you, Olajire, and thanks for joining us in Lagos. Nigeria's tourism sector is being repositioned to become a catalyst for economic growth and the validation of a draft national tourism policy by stakeholders in the sector. Minister of Art, Culture, Tourism and the Creative Economy assures speedy implementation of the draft policy, which outlines a bold vision for tourism development under the Renewed Hope agenda. Joe Pukwala reports that tourism commissioners and stakeholders across the country were at the draft policy review.
The economic potential of Nigeria's tourism sector cannot be overemphasized, but with previous policies on the tourism sector already outdated, the sector has a lot of ground to cover. The National Tourism Policy of Nigeria, a template midwifed by the former Minister of Tourism, Lola Adejon, with input from the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, NESG, led by Ike Nwosu and other critical stakeholders within the group, is in tandem with the United Nations World Tourism Organization standards. This the current Minister Anatu Musa Musawa describes as a game changer that will create millions of direct and indirect employment in the tourism industry and stimulate economic growth.
After today's engagement, we'll be able to hopefully take it to the Federal Executive Council so that, we have this policy in place. And looking forward to the framework that's going to come in from the States so that we can have a proper master plan for the tourism industry.
Things that we're doing next year is holding the national gastronomy competition. Competitions down to community level, for gastronomy. From community level to local government to state, and then to the federal level.
The draft policy, stakeholders say, is all-encompassing, bearing in mind the interests of the local community who are expected to take ownership of the tourist sites in their domain.
We are hoping that it's going to be properly implemented. The immediate gain is that we're going to have more investment in the tourism sector.
Members of the Tourism Policy Review and Drafting Committee received certificates of commendation from the Minister for their inputs. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
The challenges of climate change, ocean surge and population explosion might overwhelm Lagos within the next 50 years if necessary immediate and long-term measures are not taken. This formed part of discussions as the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, played host to the House of Representatives Committee on Ecological Funds. Ken Abakoya reports.
The visit of the House of Representatives Committee on Ecological Funds to Lagos is part of its tour of states to assess ecological and environmental issues and give recommendations to the federal government on disbursement of funds. Chairman of the committee, Aminu Sani Jaji, who says the federal government intervention is expected to cover flood control and waste management, as well as environmental conservation, says policies already in place by the Lagos State government make it easy for the federal government and other partners to intervene.
We have seen the challenges, and all the challenges that we saw are real challenges, and such challenges must be addressed. The only way that can be addressed permanently is have a substantial intervention from the federal government, more especially the ecological funds, which are currently that we are working on. And what is our mandate to ensure that the funds are being utilized properly, and then we'll ensure that the Lagos State will get significant intervention in this regard.
For Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Lagos, being a coastal state with a large population, is faced with daunting environmental challenges and requires partnership that will bring permanent solutions to its environmental problems.
It's not been done. It's only 100% that we can say that it's been done, because each time we stop and start, the cost overrun and then it becomes very difficult for you to complete.
Governor Sanwo-Olu, however, assured that the state government will continue to do its best to protect residents from the negative effects of torrential rainfall and other environmental and natural disasters. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakoya, NTA News.
You're still watching NTA Network News. Let's now talk business. The new Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, says trade policy must work for Nigeria. This is as she promises to ensure investment retention, increase exports, and ensuring Nigeria takes its market share in the African continental free trade market.
We have to export for this economy. We have to have productive jobs created. And the tripod of fiscal, monetary, and trade and investment policy must be felt vibrantly and in a coordinated manner for this economy. So with that, it's what gets measured gets done.
Somebody who I believe all Nigerians will agree with me that is the best person to lead the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. Those who don't know her very well should know that she's very hardworking, and hard work always pays.
On her first day in office, the minister met with staff and sought for cooperation to deliver on her mandate. She believes what is measured gets done. And to the capital market, equities market begin the first weekday of trade in negative territory. The all-share index shed 0.54% to close at 96,907.73 points. A total of 1.2 billion shares in 10,386 deals, corresponding to a market value of 14.2 billion naira, were traded. Today's data shows 38% improvement in volume, 10% decline in turnover, but 18% improvement in deals. Equity capitalization fell to 58.7 trillion naira. Consolidated Hallmark Holdings recorded the highest volume of 567 million traded shares, followed by United Bank for Africa, 241 million shares, while Sterling Bank, 122 million, and Sovereign Trust Insurance. Now that's a quick look at business. It's now time to pause for more messages. The news continues.
Many thanks for being there. Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority is spearheading a regional training focused on occupational radiation protection to enhance safety standards across Africa. This initiative, in partnership with the International Atomic Energy Agency, brings together experts and other stakeholders from various countries to bolster understanding and implementation of radiation safety protocols in workplaces. Ekene Ndulwe reports.
The training taking place in Abuja underscores Nigeria's commitment to promoting a culture of safety and compliance in handling radioactive substances. Director General of the Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority, Dr. Yao Usman Idris, emphasized the importance of such regional training in building a strong, unified approach to radiation safety within Africa.
We have 25 countries here in Nigeria to training them on the occupational exposure for industrial and also medical application of nuclear and radioactive materials. And this is just the beginning.
Participants engaged in series of discussions led by professionals in the field, covering topics such as regulatory frameworks, risk assessment, and emergency preparedness.
In the end, they have a good argument on how to optimize what options there are and which options you will choose based on the analysis that the participants made. That's actually what they will learn.
Expectations for this training basically is to learn from others and from the experts on the best practices for optimization.
The insights and collaborative efforts shared during this training are expected to enhance regulatory practices and safety measures across Africa. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulwe, NTA.
The Federal Ministry of Works has issued a 40-day ultimatum for the termination of works on the Kaduna-Abuja Highway Section 1. This follows the refusal of the contractor to mobilize to site after review of cost, scope and terms of contract. The Ministry of Works says it has spent the last 13 months negotiating with the contractor without reaching an agreement. It's time to get some sports stories with Ayo Deji Makinde. Ayo.
Oh, Olajide, let's begin gyrating in the world of sports by telling you that Nigeria's under-18 men's handball team triumphed over the host nation Ethiopia with a score of 47-31 goals at the IHF World Trophy in Africa, which is the continental phase, which held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. That was on Monday. Following their victory against Zambia on Sunday, the team, guided by coach Emeka Nnamani, faced an Ethiopian squad energized by local support. Nigeria's goalkeeper Samuel Obabori delivered another standout performance against Zambia, while the outfield players consistently outscored the hosts for the victory. Obabori was justly named as the most valuable player of the match. Nigeria faces Cameroon in the competition semi-final on Tuesday, which is 5 p.m. Nigeria time. Moving on now, the UEFA Champions League returns with a highly anticipated matchup as AC Milan, complete with Super Eagles forward Samuel Chukwueze, takes on Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid at the Estadio Santiago Bernabeu on Tuesday. Liverpool will host Bayer Leverkusen at Anfield, with both teams aiming to maintain their unbeaten starts in the tournament. Nigeria's Victor Boniface and Nathan Teller are expected to be involved, while Francis Onyeka, who is of German origin but eligible to play for Nigeria, could equally make his debut at the elite stage of the European competition. Meanwhile, Manchester City's hopes to bounce back as they visit Sporting Lisbon after back-to-back defeats against Tottenham and Bournemouth as Lille Metropole hosts Juventus. Celtic faces Leipzig. Bologna competes against Monaco, and PSV welcomes Girona. Elsewhere in the English Premier League, Arsenal have announced that Edu has quit his role as sporting director of the London club. The former Arsenal midfielder rejoined the North London outfit as technical director in 2019 before emerging as sporting director in 2022. He was instrumental in the appointment of former captain Mikel Arteta as coach in 2019 and ensured the signings of pivots, including captain Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, and Declan Rice. And that's your sports. It's back to Olajide.
Many thanks, Ayodeji Makinde, for the sports segment. The President Bola Tinubu joins Nigerian media industry in morning first female editor of the champion newspapers, Dr. Ngozi Fidelia Onyegbunam, at the age of 67. The President notes that beyond her journalism career, Onyegbunam was a lecturer at the University of Calabar Unical and rose to head the Department of General Studies in the institution. She was also the author of the popular book, Waziri Ibrahim Politics Without Bitterness. She served as a consultant to several institutions, including the National Population Commission, National Electric Power Authority, and the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. He praised God to grant the soul of the departed eternal rest and comfort those she left behind. And that's the network news tonight. But before I sign out, here is a recap. Your state arrives Nigeria signs MOU and promises more opportunities. And we also reported that President Bola Tinubu has directed the immediate release of the minors facing trial in connection with recent protests in some northern states. I am Olajide Bello.